Hi, this is Jim Cranston from 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com, the podcast and website about reimagining your life. Thanks for joining me tonight to talk about keeping your priorities in balance. So let's get started. If you like what you hear, please leave a like, tell your friends, send me a message. So last week we talked about being a leader and taking those first steps and how to really be in charge of things. And that's really important. And we often talk about setting goals and managing our priorities, which is also very important. But sometimes we might get so focused on our priorities that we lose sight of what we might call our hidden priorities. Those are the things that are always there and very important to us, but because they're always present, sometimes we tend to forget about them. It's those core principles that really define our attitude towards life and really define how we act in life. It might be something as simple as asking how someone is doing today and just caring for others, before you launch into whatever important conversation you plan. Just, a good question I use is something like, do you have anything exciting planned coming up? And that very often leads into a nice quick opportunity for the other person to tell you something that's important to them. And being from Western culture, of course, I tend to prioritize efficiency. And while efficiency is generally a good trait, sometimes it kind of misleads me into skipping that personal introduction and opportunity for the other person to share something that's going on in their life. Remember, living a mindful life is really just living a life that allows the good things all around us to become apparent to us. So, too often we're so busy being efficient that we miss the beauty that's right in front of us. So this past weekend was the church picnic. I mentioned that last week. It was nice. Could use a little more organization, of course, but that just makes things more entertaining. But it did make for a hectic weekend. There was some last minute music rehearsal, getting all the food and supplies moved to the correct locations in time and setting up the sound system, all those things, visiting with people, lots of things going on and all the things that make a picnic fun. But it's also a lot of work and somewhat tiring. So on Sunday, I was focused on being, efficient because I had some uncommon tasks to complete for a church friend. So after church, after the church service, I had, all the regular cleanup stuff that I do. And then I was talking about a new guitar with the choir director and helping to check out a new sound system. And then also picking up some papers from a person who often leaves early, which is kind of out of the normal routine. So I planned everything out very, very carefully in my mind. I did part of the chores, ran down to pick up the papers, said hi to another friend and her grandchild. It's just a beautiful special needs child. And I noticed I couldn't get the youngster to smile and just kind of made a note of it and thought that's unusual. And said a quick goodbye to everybody and ran back to finish the rest of my tasks. A short while later, after I got those things done, I learned that my little buddy and the grandmother were about to leave and move to another state. And probably, I don't know if I'll ever see them again. I really couldn't believe how, in that very important moment, I neglected to ask, do you have anything exciting planned? And probably I would have learned that the pending move and why he was so upset and all those things. And I would have been able to give a proper goodbye and some support. And I realized that my little friend was probably really pensive because the whole world was changing and they were trying to make sense of it. And rather than getting good thoughts of support from me, because that's how we normally communicate, I talk, but it's really mostly through the eyes. Here I was just briefly trying to make him smile and get on with other things. And I'm sure he could sense that. Everything in life happens for a reason. It may just be this was my major lesson to never ever lose sight of the little things that make life, well, life. Life isn't about efficiently getting tasks done. Life is for sharing with others, supporting others, and living to make the world a better place. If I had just focused on the moment, slowed down a little bit, remembered the pleasantries, those two may have had a little more comfort and a nicer start to a big life change. One cannot change the past, but one can certainly learn from it. For me, the biggest lesson is to never forget nor neglect what is truly important. It isn't the things on a to-do list or even your big vision. I, and perhaps we, sometimes forget that the big vision is really just the actualization of your inner soul, the inner energy that motivates you. And usually that inner drive is based on things so core to your being, you sometimes forget they're there. And so you forget to take time and make time for them as well. Did I get all the items on my to-do list checked off? Yes, I did. But I missed the most important one of all because that one wasn't on the list, which is to be the best human being I can be to everyone I meet all the time. I inadvertently made the second most important thing in the world the most important, and by doing so, lost an opportunity to really give encouragement to some others who are going through a difficult transition. In reality, if I had done that one thing and been a good friend and a good person to them and done none of the other things on the to-do list, it still would have been a more productive and satisfying day because I would have been following my own core principles. So, in our quest to live our lives to the fullest and to define our vision and work towards it, we can't forget that our vision is based upon our core principles, foundational principles. And although we may not write them down at the top of every list, they really should be our number one priority. So your homework, always optional, is to think of what really defines you and what are your core principles. They don't have to be complex, and they probably aren't, but they're worth revisiting every now and again so that you don't lose sight of them in the middle of the hustle and the bustle of everyday life. And extra points if you also want to think about ways to weave those principles into your everyday experiences. With strangers at the store, when you're late for an appointment, when you're having a bad day, it's easy to be true to yourself when life is going well, but the real test is when life is challenging you. So that's it for the evening. And of course, we cannot forget ukr7.com, which is our website where we have links supporting the people of Ukraine. Remember, just terrible situations, ongoing. They definitely need support. There's also links there to the World Central Kitchen, Jose Andres Group, and they do humanitarian work all across the not only the U.S., but across the globe. And so good place to look into that. Remember, one of the best ways to care for yourself is to care for others. So check out ukr7.com, wck.org for some good places. And there's many other places. As I say, it's good to look outside yourself, because when you do that, it changes your perspective on the world, and it puts things in a lot better perspective, and your place in the world in a lot better perspective. So if you can enable, please check it out at ukr7.com. As always, thank you for stopping by. If you found something interesting or useful, please pass it along, and please hit that like button. If not, please drop me a comment as to what you'd like to hear. Have a great week. Remember to live the life that you dreamed of, because that's the path to true contentment. Love and encouragement to everyone, and see you next week on 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com. Thank you.